Are you aware of the hidden sources of mould in your home and kitchen? Biohacking is small changes based on scientific research that you can make to your lifestyle to increase your longevity and also help influence your health. Today on the podcast, I'm talking with Camilla Thompson from BioHackMe. She's a nutritionist and a leading biohacker and the author of an up-and-coming book, BioHackMe. She shares her knowledge about inflammation, mold, and biohacks for your kitchen. She also shares with us some biohacks you can make without spending a cent. This conversation is a video recording that you can also watch on YouTube. Let's jump into this Simply Happy guest conversation with Camilla, sharing some biohacks you can implement in your life today. Today on Simply Happy Conversations, I'm talking with Camilla Thompson from BioHackMe. She's a nutritionist and a leading biohacker and an author of an up-and-coming book, BioHackMe. She's going to be sharing some biohacks in your kitchen and also around inflammation. So welcome, Camilla.
Oh, thank you, Narelle. It's wonderful to be here.
I'm excited about your book because I just realized I'm just like working out the dates. I think this episode might come out right when your book, because it's at the start of June it comes out.
It does. Well, end of May, official 5th of June, I'm launching in Bondi, but that's fabulous timing.
So I think
Brilliant.
It will be that. That's
Yay!
Which is perfect.
Great. Good.
So start then and tell us, if you were a Barbie doll, what accessories would you come with?
Well, it's just such a popular craze now, isn't it? Over social media, everyone's put themselves into the boxes. I thought that's where the question came from.
No, I've been asking for about 2 years to every guest.
You're clearly an early adopter, Narelle, because now everyone's making themselves into a toy box, aren't they? Yeah. That's what it reminded me of. Look, if I was, what accessories would I have? How big can the accessory be?
Whatever you like.
Okay, well, it would have to be an infrared sauna, would be one of my accessories. I just couldn't live without one. It's like my go-to. I'll explain more about that later, but you know, it's been my go-to for detoxing mold. I lived in mold for many years, so it's like I love my infrared sauna. And then probably would be my red light therapy. I've got a little red light, which I love. I love warmth and light. It just kind of makes me feel really good. What other accessories would I have? Probably my little kitten. If I could have that as a little kitten doll, that would be cool. And yeah, I think that's kind of some of my things. Yeah, my main ones. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous. And I didn't even think of that, the accessories. And I have to be honest, I didn't make it up myself. I actually got it from another person on social media, and she uses it as sometimes with some of her profiles on her actual page. And I was like, that is a brilliant question. I'm going to use that on my podcast. So yes, it was.
Yeah, awesome. Love it.
So if I was to work with you as a professional organizer, what area in your home would you like some support in?
Oh, that's a great question. I have spent the last little while going through every cupboard in my house organizing. So I think it's definitely cupboards, but I think at the moment it would be my pantry and my kitchen, because I just seem to be piling more and more stuff in the cupboards. I just looked at it yesterday and went, I need to get onto this soon. It's getting worse and worse. So,
you need some storage solution in there that can help eliminate
absolutely. Absolute food stacking, yes.
Yeah. So then tell us about biohacking. So what is biohacking? Because I'm sure other people are like, what is that? I've maybe not even heard of it at all.
Yes, I know. And it's Australia, we're a little bit behind. So it's been a big global movement for at least 10 years in the US and Europe. But Australia's just this year is the biohacking year. So it's essentially hacking your biology. So we're looking at what can we do from an environmental and lifestyle perspective to help us extend our health span. So when I talk about health span, that's how many years we live in good health. Our lifespan, or longevity, as we talk about, is how many years we live. But we want our health span to equal our lifespan. So we want to live in good health. So it's essentially looking at what are some of the hacks, evidence-based, science-based hacks that we can do to help us live long, healthy, happy lives.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it's thinking about the longevity of your life and what are all the different components that make up your life that you could be just changing with a small little hack possibly. So
absolutely, yeah. And it's also just about empowering people as well to take control of their health. And, you know, I think we're living in a complete health crisis. 1 in 2 women are going to have a chronic health condition, and 1 in 2 people will be diagnosed with cancer before the age of 80 to 85 in Australia. So we have to do something around prevention, and that's what biohacking is. It's preventative health, it's personalized health, it's empowering people to take control of their health.
Yeah, and that's important, the personalised, and also, the for each individual person, because we're all going to need different things, aren't we?
Absolutely. That's that whole bio-individuality, like what works for me might not work for you. So we've got to really, and that comes back to intuition as well, and experimenting and curiosity, and finding out what resonates and what our body responds to.
Yeah, because we're all different, aren't we?
So different, yeah.
So what are some of the environmental factors that in our house that contribute to sort of like inflammation? It seems to be a big thing that comes up, isn't it, around our health, that indicates there's issues around your health?
Yeah, it's a big one. And I think, you know, our home is our safe space, right? It's somewhere where we want to feel that we are at ease and we're safe and we're not being put under threat. But unfortunately, there is a lot of toxins in the home. And I think we even know the air quality in our houses as well can be really poor at times. So the good thing is it's all preventative and there's things you can do. But we are exposed to so many toxins. Women particularly are exposed to 168 chemicals a day on average, which is insane. And that's all the products that we're putting on and everything else around us. So we can't be neurotic, but we do have to go, okay, how can we reduce that toxic load, that environmental load down a little bit? And the kitchen is such a great place to start because that's where a lot of the culprits lie. So that's where a lot of the toxic products and things we're cooking with and we're storing our food in. So yeah, there's lots we can do, and affordably. It doesn't have to cost a fortune.
Yes, yeah, which is really important as well, isn't it? And it could be just that small tweak and a change that actually might even save you money in the long term as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, look, swapping plastic for glass is a bit of a no-brainer, and you can actually buy really good price glass storage, and, you know, I'm sure you're across all of this, but it's things like that. And chopping boards, you know, I for years was using these really quite good quality plastic chopping boards, but then realized that you're cutting like microplastics into your food. So replacing them with bamboo or wood fiber, or just, you know, really good wood. So there's lots we can do in the kitchen, particularly our products as well. Like a lot of like really heavy cleaning products are full of so many chemicals that disrupt our endocrine system. So all our hormones, and it can impact our mental health as well.
Yeah, and interesting that microplastics you brought up, because I think that's some area that I've been a little bit interested and obsessed with this year. And I read something recently, I'll have to find it to put in the show notes, but that we're consuming up to almost a credit card worth of microplastics a week.
I know.
A week? That's a lot of microplastics, isn't it?
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, look, the body is incredible. The body can adapt and the body can heal, but there's only so much we can keep, you know, compounding on from a toxic load perspective. I don't know how the body is going to break down plastic. I know, obviously, we look at heavy metals and things like that, and the body, you know, how we get those out of our body. But plastics is a tricky one. I think they're even finding them in a fetus and things like that, aren't they? They found microplastics in. I mean, it's just, frightening. And breast milk and things like that. So
yeah, it's just amazing, isn't it? That I suppose that we've got that technology now, so we can see these things and see what's coming out. But yeah.
You almost don't want to know, though, do you? Like, it's almost like, okay, now I can't see this or unhear this, but it's like it can be quite overwhelming. And I think I suffer from something called MCS, so that's multiple chemical sensitivity, and that's come around from living in mould for about 8 years. So I lived in a house that was completely infested in mould, but it was all hidden and we couldn't see it. And I got very, very sick, which is kind of what got me into biohacking, because I had to take control of my health. I had to try and reverse chronic inflammation, which I was diagnosed with. So a lot of those sort of toxins I was getting, my home made me ill, you know. So it is an overwhelming thing when you look at everything we're being exposed to, but you just have to minimize where you can.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you realize, or how did you, because that's also a really tricky thing around the mold and putting it all together, because we've gone down the same track with my daughter, and it takes a bit of a process, doesn't it, to work out what is actually causing all of these health issues, that then it is mold.
Oh, it's so hard. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, GPs just haven't had any training around mold. So they don't know what they don't know. So a lot of people are going to the doctor and they're like, I've got these weird symptoms, or this, it's often recurring, like you'll be okay and then it comes back and it's recurring. And for me, I had like an eye thing that weeped and would swell. And then I was constantly dehydrated because mold takes all the water out of your system. So I felt like I was hungover all the time and I wasn't drinking. So it's like, this isn't fun. And, you know, then it eventually went into my bones and it started growing up through my nose into my brain. So I had mark-ons. I was in my body. I had what mimicked arthritis. So I got really unwell. And it was only when a friend of mine came over to the house, a very good friend of mine, and said, Camilla, you've got mold everywhere. And I didn't even realize, you know, it was in my bed, it was in my cupboards, it was in our blinds, it was in my son's bedroom, it was in every house. Every room in our house. And within 24 hours, we had to move out of our home and we lost all our belongings. So we had a complete reset of losing, you know, all these things because mold gets into everything and contaminates. So,
you can clear up. So people cannot wash something and get mold out, can they?
So it depends. So the only thing we could keep was some clothes. So you can hot wash clothes, you can use Caniston, and there's a few other things you can use. So clothes are the one thing you can normally keep. Leather boots, suede boots, they all have to go. Like that was devastating. My entire boots gone. But also sad things like, you know, my books from my kids, like, you know, things like baby books and things like that, because paper, anything porous, so wood, paper, things like wicker. Wicker's like an absolute mold magnet. It just absorbs it. And because they're porous, you just have to throw it away. You cannot get it out. So, you know, a lot of people don't want to let go of things, but actually it's toxic and you're holding on to it. So it was, even though it was sad to lose everything, it was quite cathartic at the same time because it was like start fresh and all this crap that we held on to. Yeah. So.
And so did anyone else in your family have any other symptoms, or it was only really you?
So my youngest son did. So 25% of the population have a specific gene, and that means that we can't get rid of mold. It means that we're all ingesting mold spores all the time, mycotoxin spores, and most of our bodies go, oh, I don't like this, we'll get rid of it. And so you'll sweat it out, wee it out, or poo it out. Those are your kind of three pathways. But unfortunately, 25% of us can't do that. We've got this HLA-DR or DQ gene, which is part of the celiac family. And that means that our body just goes, oh, what's this? And holds on to it. And so it disrupts all your systems. So some people will have really bad respiratory issues. My son used to have sores on his face, but we just thought he was run down. And then, you know, he started not concentrating at school, and then he was getting lethargic in football. But my older son and my husband were fine. So we just didn't realize it was our home making us ill.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that, do you find now if you go into some home or a place and it's full of mold that you'll notice the symptoms straight away now? Like you're aware of it? Like you're a mold, like almost like a mold. Yeah, you can go in and you're a detector. You can detect
it. It's hard. And I spent quite a few years not going to people's houses, not going to cinemas, not going to places where I was scared I was going to get molded, as we call it. But eventually you just have to let go of that fear and know that, you know, there's a process, your body knows how to get rid of it. But, you know, about 3 months ago, I did a urine test to check I didn't have mold left in my system, and bang, I did. And so that was a bit confronting. And so we got my house tested and found out that we had mold in the house, in my new house, which we've been in for a few years. But it was the carpets. So carpets, unfortunately, are just mold pits. And I had an open ensuite, so the moisture was coming in and onto the carpet in the bedroom, and mold loves dust, and carpets just hold on to everything. So they're gone. So we ripped up all the carpets, and you know, I was complacent. I had a few wicker things in the bathroom and wicker things by the fire, and they were just they'd got mold on them. So having like a dehumidifier is really important in the house, just to keep that moisture at bay. But also air purifiers are brilliant because they actually suck, the HEPA ones suck all the mold out. So really recommend having those in your home, and they're not expensive to buy.
Yeah. It's funny. I was at a client's house a few weeks ago and he had one, and it was really interesting, like when different things, because we were carrying, say, the dusty clothes past, and it then just lit up red. So his was like indicating. And then his dog, every time his dog went past, it went red. It was interesting, the different things when they went past, he was highlighting it to me.
Wow.
How he can see his is like a more expensive one that had a thing to indicate when it was purifying the air as you went past.
Well, I've got one. It's not quite as high tech as that, but it's red, green, amber. And so it will tell you if the air is clean in the room. And it's funny, it can start green and then it will find something and then it will go red. So yeah, they're great. Like I think Oz Climate make them.
Yes.
And oh, brilliant. Yeah. So I actually set up a mold company on the Central Coast with my friend that found the mold in my house. She'd been working in mold remediation for many years in Sydney. And I became the mold lady up here on the Central Coast. Everyone's like emailing and phoning and calling me, help, we've got mold. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. There's no one here that can really do what they do in Sydney. So I convinced my business partner to move up to the Central Coast. And so we've got a business here that we do all the air sampling and surface sampling and proper remediation. So, yeah.
Yeah, so what would be someone's first thing? So they think potentially they've got mold in their house. What sort of the steps that they would do, you'd recommend they do?
Well, look, I mean, you really want to get an inspection and you want to get the house tested. So often, I mean, it really depends. If you've had structural damage, then the chances are you're going to have pretty bad mold if you've had water come in. So, I mean, if you think personally you can do a urine test yourself and see if you've got mold in your body. And if you have, then the chances are you're being exposed to it at home. But yeah, like you'd have to get someone to come in and they do an inspection and they'll look at different areas. They'll do testing, moisture on the walls and all that kind of stuff and do some air sampling to find out what's going on.
Yeah. And then, so what are some of the things that you recommend in our home that we can do to just like actually reduce the chances of mold in our homes?
So look, definitely dehumidifiers. Like every Australian home needs one because we're in a breeding ground, this climate. So just definitely having a dehumidifier really works, and keeping your house clean and not stacking too much stuff like my pantry. No, it's not that bad. But lots of cupboards where you've got like shoes and clothes and too much. And the amount of times people say to me, oh my God, my clothes and my shoes are all covered in mold and everything's packed into cupboards. There's no ventilation. So keep your house ventilated. You know, if you don't have natural light, then, you know, you can get machines that sort of do bring that light into the house. But I think ventilation's key, keeping the moisture to a minimal, and air purifiers. Like that's absolutely great. And carpets, get rid of them.
Yes.
Yeah, they're everything, particularly if you've got pets. So, but yeah,
it's the dust, isn't it? Like you mentioned before. And I find that's what's in people's wardrobes is the dust around the clothes they're not using and the shoes they haven't maybe worn, but they're still keeping. And that's where the mold will be.
Absolutely. And air conditioning units. So they're absolute breeding grounds. So particularly the units on the walls, you've got to have them cleaned every year, but make sure the coils are actually cleaned because they literally just chuck out mold spores. So So that's definitely something to keep on top of with the aircon units.
And probably where you are compared to us. So we have got a dehumidifier. And the water, it's amazing at certain days how much you can get out of our lounge area. But whereas when we go into winter, it's our bathrooms that I'll use it in, or in the laundry where the dryer might have been on, drying towels and things that have got wet during the day. But definitely we don't have the humidity that you have down here, but we still will see mold. And on the cold sides of the houses is where I'll see it in clients' homes. Like there's actually no sun there getting to that side of their house.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. And you know, we see like so much social housing, disability housing and retirement homes. Retirement homes are the worst. There's no windows, no ventilation, and there's so many mold issues and people are just spending their whole days in these rooms. So yeah, ventilation's absolutely key to that. And I think just minimizing water everywhere, like in showers and in the kitchen and things like that. So yeah. Kind of the main things. But yeah, and like back to sort of like biohacking the kitchen as well. I think for most sort of toxic products piece, I think like just really, really mindful of some of the products that we're using, like bleachers and lots of highly chemical sprays and things like that. We're inhaling all of that as well. So as much as we're inhaling mold spores, we're also inhaling all these chemicals. So really important. There's some great brands out there like which you can get in Woolworths, which is like an all-purpose, and they actually really work, and they're low tox. So not completely natural, but they're really low tox, and that's much better. Like I don't react to that kind of product, whereas other products, it's in my throat, my eyes start stinging and drip and sort of, weeping and stuff. So
it's almost like we need a person like you in our homes, because they identify, like myself, my daughter, straight away she'll go into a place and she's like, guys, we can't stay here. It's already making me itchy. There's mold in here.
I feel for her.
Products as well. Products. It's just like, she's so good to have around, because she's like picking it up for us.
She's picking it up. I mean, it's like even like perfumes and aftershave. Like it's like, and it's like my throat starts seizing up. I think people think I'm mad, but it's hard when you've got a teenager who's Lynx obsessed and spraying aftershave all the time, and so it's really hard. I'm like choking upstairs. But it is. I think we've got to reduce this toxic load. I think we're being exposed to far too many in the home.
Yeah. So what about biohacking in the kitchen? Is there anything else apart from obviously the chemical products that we're using? Is there anything else that you would suggest in our kitchen?
Well, definitely pans. I think, like I've just really got nearly all stainless steel now, or sort of cast iron. But, the old Le Creuset that they used to cook in, those brilliant. I mean, they're so much better. But I think a lot of this non-stick is very toxic. As we know, there's loads of forever chemicals. Heating stuff in the microwave in plastic, that's like leaching all the plastic in, and even putting cling wrap over stuff in the microwave, the plastics are falling into your food. Even things like tin foil, when you're putting tin foil on hot food, the aluminium's then heating into your food, which is hard because we use that a lot, right, with steaks and putting it on top of meats and things. But like if you are sensitive to metals and sensitive to things like that, then you do need to have a think about other ways of doing that. But swapping your pans out's a really good one. Like there's so many good options out there now for more green, clean pans.
Yeah, and I invested in the cast iron ones last year, and they weren't as expensive as the ones that I was considering, and it's just basically seasoning it. And once I've seasoned it, it actually works so much better than any other pan that we've ever had before.
Yeah, you've got to get the right ones. I've been through quite a few over the years, and some are just, but the seasoning piece is really important. But I think just the toxic nature of cooking and the foods, and a lot of our food's wrapped in plastic as well. So just trying to sort of air it and trying to buy stuff that's not so wrapped in plastic. Farmers markets and things like that where you're getting fresh veg is really important.
Yeah. So can you maybe just touch on forever chemicals? Because some people are maybe like, what is that? I've never heard of that. Or they've heard of it, but they didn't really know much about it.
Yeah, I mean, in their name, they're forever chemicals. They don't go anywhere. So they're chemicals that just can't be broken down. So our body doesn't know how to respond to them because they're such an alien chemical. And a bit like microplastics, it's like there's only so much work the body can do to break down a plastic or a forever chemical. So the forever chemicals stay around for a long time and essentially forever. So and we're experiencing them, from all different sort of things that we're consuming. So there's forever chemicals in many things that we wouldn't think would be there. So
yeah. And that's the thing. It's not until awareness that, like you sharing this, that's like people are they're more aware and have possibly not even thought about, like changing their containers to heat it up in a glass bowl rather than a plastic bowl.
Absolutely.
In the microwave. Yeah.
Like I think in the news recently, they were talking about forever chemicals in our water. So particularly in New South Wales, I don't know if you guys had that, but so filtering our water is really important. Like there's so many plastics and chemicals in our water. So really trying to have a system where you filter that as well is important, particularly if you've got high levels of chlorine and things like that.
That's a great hack. That's a really good, simple one that you can do. It will cost a little bit to start with, but I'm sure that's giving you a longer term, result, isn't it, for the whole family?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think just there's some really simple things you can do. It doesn't have to be a complete overhaul of everything. And like over time, you can swap pans out. And, I think the main thing, the plastic storage is a big thing, and, and heating of plastic. So, particularly like when we get takeaway as well and just sits like in plastic and things like that. I don't really know what the solution is to that unless you go down to the takeaway yourself and give them a pan or something. But if you're doing pickup, but delivery is really tricky. I don't know. Sometimes we're just going to be exposed. I think we just have to accept. There's a level of acceptance.
Yeah, there is, isn't there? So if you were to give people one thing to go away with that they could potentially try, or, is a really simple thing that they could do that maybe doesn't cost them anything, what's something you'd recommend?
That doesn't cost anything at all.
Oh, putting you on the spot.
That is a hard one. Okay. Are we talking about from a biohacking perspective or the kitchen?
Yep.
Okay. So one thing that doesn't cost anything at all is reading a book. That would be my one thing, is if you read for at least 6 minutes, you reduce your stress by 68%. And one of the best gifts to yourself is reading a book before bed. Oh. So that would be one thing, because it reduces your stress, but also it allows you to, particularly fiction, jump into another world. It stops the brain from ruminating and overthinking. It's a beautiful way to go to sleep. It takes you off technology. So I think that's a really important ritual. It doesn't cost anything. I'll give you a few more just for a few bonuses. Cold showers is something I really recommend, particularly when you're in Victoria. Yeah. But it's cold showers. It's not just about it's about building resilience. And actually, when you have a cold shower, and you can start with 30 seconds after your warm shower, is you start going, God, I can do anything. Like there's a mindset that comes from it, and it really does help to build resilience. Just having something like a cold shower, and it's so good for inflammation. So I think, that would be another thing. My other thing would be just to eat real food, like stop the ultra processed foods, just support local farmers, support your butchers, your fishmongers, and get good quality food. Like we have to fuel ourselves with the right nutrition, and prioritize your sleep. I've given you loads now.
Yes, that is amazing. I love them because they're all the free options that anyone can start doing tomorrow.
Walk every day, and get natural light as soon as you wake up, if you can.
Yes, that's my favorite.
Yeah, just that natural light. It sets your circadian rhythm. So just 10 minutes in the morning. There's actually a great company in Melbourne called Happy Lamp.
Oh, yes, I've seen them. Yes.
Oh, yeah, she's created these beautiful lamps. And so sometimes when I wake up and it's dark, I'll just put my Happy Lamp on next to me in the bedroom, and you're still getting that. It mimics the natural light. So, they're really
I've seen some clients have had them and said that they've absolutely loved it. One in particular who can't maybe leave the house, and this has helped them by having that around in their home.
Yeah, it's great for seasonal affective disorder. Also shift work if you're getting up, because a lot of shift workers, like their sleep is so disrupted because they're not getting that natural light in the morning. So yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for all of your information and tips. How can people connect with you?
So they can find me at www.biohackme.com.au. There's a free biohacking guide that everyone can download on there as well. My book, it's on there. That'll come out soon. And at BioHackMe Coach on Instagram.
Fantastic.
That's me. And I've got loads of tips and videos and things like that.
You do. You have lots of great videos that I've checked out. So definitely go on. But I'll definitely put all those links in the show notes, and people can check out your book that comes out soon, which should come out in conjunction with this episode.
I know, that's such great timing. Thank you so much, Noelle.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you for joining me for today's Simply Happy conversation. Is your family's paperwork piling up and taking over your kitchen bench? Do you waste hours searching through piles of paper clutter, looking for documents and reminder notices? Our comprehensive guide walks you through each step to help you effectively organise your paperwork and provide simple solutions to digitalize your administration processes to reduce paper clutter. Head to simplyhappy.com.au to the resource tab to get instant access today. I'd like to acknowledge the Wathaurong people of the Kulin Nation on which this podcast is recorded as the traditional custodians of the land. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.